Hey everybody, Debo here. Here to bring you the update number 2 on the Arachyr set. I know I probably mispronounced it horribly, but that's what I call it. It's the Arachyr set, so that's the best I could do. In the previous iteration, I was only able to do like greater rift level 40, maybe 45 if I got lucky, using it with the Rinho Flailer build. Because that's the only thing I could see it being feasible. Using it with two-handed or using it with the fire bats really wasn't that great. Fire bats damage is still lackluster. Even though they changed it, reduced the mana cost overall, fire bats is just still nowhere near the level to actually combo in well with this build. They upped the Spider Queen damage to 2,500 up from 1,500, which is good. Could still be a little bit higher. Hex, the 40% reduced damage, so it's just knocked that up to 50. And they need to up the damage of the effect of the Toad of Hugeness and maybe even the healing portion of it, because sometimes you actually do take a DPS loss when the Toad eats a target that you need to finish off. And then the damage spell, the creature spells are increased by 800% up from 500, which is better, but still could be a lot more. And I know I keep saying always more damage, more damage, more damage, but it's like a lot of this stuff can be fixed if you just up the damage more. They added the Locust Swarm, which actually is very good, so we're going to be utilizing Locust Swarm, Hex, and Piranhas. The Locust Swarm is pretty cool because 800% increased damage on Locust Swarm with the increased damage to Locust Swarm on your skills, or we'll basically using with the Wormwood. Your shoulder and your chest have Locust Swarm damage, and using with Quizzicola actually ends up netting some pretty significant damage, which is pretty awesome. The Corpse Spiders is so-so for the increased damage, but I end up using it anyway because Spider Queen works pretty okay. It directs the other spider. It gets increased damage 800%, might as well use that. But realistically, Plague of Toads is so-so. Rinho Flailer and just farming early or levels, it will work pretty good with the Arachyr set. But Fire Bat sucks with it. Locust Swarm, Hex, and Piranhas is okay. Plague of Toads is okay. Corpse Spider is okay. So, I mean, like I said, I know it's just keep reiterating up the damage, but they literally need to up the damage. Now, I was able to get Greater Level 53 completed, but before that, we'll just go ahead and show you what I'm running for my gear. Int, wish I could have got Vitality, but crit chance on the helmet and a socket with a cooldown reduction gem, just so we can get a little bit of cooldown to help out our Hex, just so we can always keep it up 100% of the time, so we don't get that extra, we don't lose that 40% damage reduction. Shoulders, Int Vitality, all resistance, and Locust Swarm damage. We also have the Int Vitality, critical percent chance and critical damage on the Arachyr's claws now. You probably might want to run cooldown reduction on both these pieces, but I wanted a little bit more survivability because I was getting knocked around pretty badly. I have Elich, of course, or Helltooth Amulet will be fine. And critical percent chance, critical damage, and socket. The Strong Arm Bracers combos in well with the Piranha's Paranado, so that's great. And then, of course, Focus and Restraint, utilizing the Belt of Transcendence, also Arachyr's Legs, and also the Arachyr's Stride. Of course, nothing too special going on with this. And, of course, in Wormwood, and I actually got a better one. I should be trying to do runs with the 4100 Wormwood that I have. So, everything else is pretty solid. For the gems, we're using the Molten Wild Beast Gizzard, so we can run into mobs and, hopefully... I started utilizing this recently. In the run I did 53, I don't think I used this, but I started using this because it provides a shield. I can run through the mobs, especially when I have the poison effect on from the Convention of Elements, so that I can get all the Locust Swarm and damage out on everything so they start dying immediately. This build rewards you if you actually do get a lot of mob density, because the damage is pretty nasty, and I was kind of shocked about that. If I kept fishing, I probably could have did a 55, and if I had the higher Paragon levels, I think this build could actually go to like 58. Crazy as it sounds, right? But no one's really pushing it because most people are just like, whatever. But the Locust Swarm is definitely the way to go if you're playing this build, and it's very simple to play. Using the Gem of Infectious Toxin, because we're already using a bunch of poison anyway, you might as well. And then, of course, Bane of the Trap, because we're going to be close to the enemies to increase that damage. For our cube options, we're running a Furnace for the Extremis versus Elites, Quizzicola for the extra damage for the Locust Swarm, and also because we're using Haunt as well. And then we also got Convention of Elements, so when it goes into the poison region of it, like it is about to right now, we get 200% increased damage, which is great. Also... Pure Citadel for extra damage, Confidence Ritual, so when we're close to monsters we do 25% additional damage, Gruesome Feast, Spirit Vessel. If I had an additional skill, I probably would take Grave Injustice or Swampland Attunement, one of those two. Grave Injustice reduces the cooldown of these two major spells, Piranhas and Hex, but then again you'd have a little bit of mana issues because you're using Pure Citadel with Haunt, and you don't have anything to get back mana. So probably Swampland Attunement, or maybe even a Pure Citadel or something like that. Or not Pure Citadel, I'm sorry, Jungle Fortitude. Alright, so pretty much that's how it goes down. For the Paragon, like I always say, movement speed to max and intelligence. Then critical percent chance and critical damage would be my next priority. Armor, life, then all resistance. And then, of course, for utility, it would be resource, area damage, and life on hit. So we covered the gear that we're using, the gems, the Paragon levels, and the Kanai Cuba option. So let's just go ahead and get into the video of the 53 being cleared. Alright. So the only thing you got to really worry about with this build, casting your Haunt, and then occasionally casting your Spider Queen. She does two things. She directs the other Spider Queen or Corpse Spider Queen that we have to attack where she's attacking, and they both do AoE damage, so it works out pretty well. Especially since you get 800% increased damage for the poison damage for the Queen. Not much to this build. We want to make sure that we got the oh, you know, I'm so bad I didn't go over the skills, did I? Well, it's too late. I'll just go over the skills at the end. But anyways, you know, the main thing is we got the Spirit Walk so we can get through mobs and be safe. We got the Soul Harvest because that will give us more survivability with the armor or more additional toughness that it grants us. Plus, you know, 5 stacks of at 3% increased intelligence, which is really good. Combos in well with the Griffin Feast. Hex because it's a main staple of the build because we need that for the damage reduction. Plus, it's a pretty solid skill. It makes him take more damage, and it has effective total adhesions due to the 4-piece set. The reason why we are running Haunt is because the combos in well with the Quetzalcoatl makes enemies take additional damage, and it's good with Quetzalcoatl. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? And then we also have the Spider Queen, like I said, that's the to direct the other Spider Queen where we need to go, and it also serves as a primary ability to trigger both our effects of the Focus and Restraint, because you need one mana cast, one mana spender, one primary skill to trigger both skills. And as you can see, the Locust Swarm does tremendous amounts of damage. And with that, with the Haunt, it just works out really well. I think it's up to about 80 million damage, which is pretty nice. You got the Hex effect, which is going to be doing more damage when it toad eats everything and stuff and what have you not. And then because of the Arachyr set, and then also the Piranha Paranado, every time you cast that, that's going to do a lot more damage as well too. It's a real easy build to play. All you have to do is just hit everything with Haunt, occasionally keep up your Hex, cast Piranha Paranados occasionally, cast your Core Spider every so often, and you know, just keep harvesting. And the damage versus the elites actually work out pretty well because you got the furnace equipped to your character. Now, this is a good example of like a build I could see actually people playing. It's not too strenuous to get all this gear and to build into this. It's not that very hard. It's very straightforward and very simple, and it doesn't require too much for a player to do. Like, you can mindlessly run through Greater Risk 40, run through Torment level 10 with this build and just trash everything, because when you're running by everything, the Locust Swarm auto cast, it kills everything. You don't have to worry about much. It's a pretty straightforward build, and the more damage you get into the build, the higher you can climb. It's very straightforward. It doesn't matter what mobs you get because they're all going to get affected the same. The only thing that's really holding this build back, I feel, at least in my situation when I was running it, is because I felt like I needed higher level gems. You know, I needed better levels of Effacious Toxin gems. I needed a better level for my Band of the Trapped. You know, my Gizzard, I needed a lot more levels. So if I got that up and really min-maxed all the pieces of gear and got them all ancient and got perfect gear, I really think it could do anywhere between 55 up to fishing 60. So that's a good sign. Like I said, the Locust Swarm with the Arachyr set is a really nice addition to it because that's a solid skill. I wish they would add Haunt too, but I guess the reason why Locust Swarm is because Locust Swarm is, you know, it's monsters or pets, right? So or your creature skills, that can be considered a creature skill. But I mean, if they had it with Haunt too, it'd be fantastic. But I don't think that will fly because it's not a creature spell; it's just a spirit, right? So as you can see, I'm close and doing all the increased damage. Band of Traps proccing, you know, the new Witch Scepter passive that's proccing, and I mean it's pretty comfortable. I'm not really doing anything too strenuous. It doesn't matter what type of mobs I get, but I mean, like I said, the build just kind of auto plays itself, especially with the you know, the Wormwood auto cast and the Locust Swarm that's doing a ton of damage. Now, personally, I like to run Locust Swarm instead of the Harvest maybe with Pestilence. I think that would be pretty good because then it will spread the Locust Swarm around much faster. But, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I might change it up in the future. And the Creeping Death, somebody asked me, well, aren't you going to run this build with Creeping Death? I'm like, I guess you could, especially if you have an extra Hell Tube option. But what my big thing is that You don't really need Creeping Death. The Locust Swarm is major damage, and that's going to keep reapplying, and you're always going to keep recasting your Haunt. I mean, the Creeping Death is really there to combo in with the Jade build, because when you harvest, since we're not harvesting, I feel you don't need that. So as you can see, we're just moving along. Casting that Haunt, casting that Spider Queen to direct where her damage needs to go. Prawns of Paranata whenever I have it, and keeping up the harvest when I can. And, I mean, it's just a pretty straightforward build. Like I said, I really feel like, as you can see, when you have a lot of mobs, like, it really does well. As if you can, when you get huge mob density packs, because the Locust Swarm eats through them just ridiculously. And then you still do good damage to the elites. As you can see, this room is a very profitable room, as I would like to call it. You know, I can just run around. I don't really have to stand in one spot. I don't have to risk my life too much. You know, the Locust Swarm, as long as the monster's next to me, it'll just keep continually spreading all across the field of battle. And it's really not too much I got to worry about. So as you can see, the monsters are dying pretty well at 53. And, I mean, it's doing exactly what it needs to do. And that's mostly thanks in part because we have a lot of poison damage increase, the Effacer's Toxin Gem, and then we also have the Locust Swarm, and then of course a little bit of haunts here and there on the elites actually help out a lot as well. And like I said, I'm just running around the room, making sure the Locust Swarm stays on the targets, make sure I keep up my focus and restraint combo, and that's pretty much about it. And like I said, I was pretty much getting close to 55. I felt like if I fished enough, I could have got a 55 clear with the set. However, I don't like fishing, and I don't think that's a correct representation of the build when you just basically just do that. So, I'm actually going to end up practicing this build a lot more because it actually intrigued me, and the playstyle was pretty interesting because it was different. I mean, you only have really fetishes to protect yourself, but it really felt like a real caster kind of Witch Doctor build, reminiscent of the Jade build, and that's kind of funny. I think this build's actually better than the Jade build, which is hilarious, mostly due to the Arachyr set and increasing the Locust Swarm damage so crazy, like, and the Toad of Hugeness providing the damage reduction. But I'm gonna see how much I can push this up to. Maybe I can get it to 60. I think that will keep me interested for the next week. Plus, it will allow me to farm up some gems and get ready to set up for making my guides for the 2.3 versions of Jade and Carnival and all that good stuff. So I'll be testing this the next couple days. I know today I'll be playing Final Fantasy because I gotta get my raid. I gotta get my weekly quest done, and that needs to be done because the servers were set by tomorrow. But like I said, towards the end of the month, I do believe I will get that, you know, overall PTR coverage of everything what's going on, talking about all the Witch Doctor items and how they work and if they're applying really good to the certain, you know, builds and what have you not. But as you can see, it's a pretty comfortable build. It's nothing you have to really worry about. We love large amounts of mob density. You don't have to worry about getting in close and casting like with zombie bears and Helltooth and what have you not. It actually ends up working out pretty well, just due to the fact that I mean, it's not much to it. It's very simple. The Locust Swarm auto cast, like I said again, you cast in your Corpse Spider, that does AoE damage, and then your Haunt, and you just keep up your harvest. So I have to say, I was pleasantly less frustrated playing the Arachyr set than playing Helltooth. Helltooth made me a little bit more frustrated sometimes. But, you know, the Arachyr set, for the most part, it was just, I don't know, just something calming. I like builds that can deal with versatility. Doesn't need like a certain mob type to be successful. Doesn't depend on, you know, zombies and skeletons to rank up really well. Sets that kind of make sense and displays good amounts of damage, because surprisingly the Locust Swarm was doing pretty good amounts of damage and doing pretty well. You'll also notice like when Convention of Elements comes up, like that damage just skyrockets, especially with it. The set looks phenomenally well done. It's a very cool looking set, and but I mean, it still has a long way to go in terms of being competitive. Now, I don't think every single build has to be competitive, but if this build can do 60 very easy, then I think that would be fine. Doesn't need to go up to 70, right? Carnival, I think, would be a build that's going to be going to 70. I think even Helltooth might have the potential to do it with the Gargantuan to go up to 70, but this is a build, if they can just get to 60, I'd be perfectly happy with. It'd be very fun just to run this set and enjoy it. Because I find it fun, which is surprising. I took a death there. I don't know what happened, but that was my first death, so I was able to instantly read back and res. I had to take a breather. I was like, oh, you know what? I not do this as crazy. When I was doing 53 and 54 and 55, it really wasn't an issue of me surviving. It was just an issue of needing to get a certain amount of mobs and get a little bit more damage out to complete them. So I felt like, well, if I had like a little bit higher in the gems and I actually, started trying to go with all the ancient pieces and really get this set situated, I actually could probably do very well. Mortar's never your friend in this scenario, but like I said, I'm going to be running the Gizzard, which is the legendary gem that makes it so you get a shield, so I'm going to be utilizing that in all future builds of this. And that should help a little bit more with the survivability, because what I really wanted to do with this build is just every time one like the convention of elements is about to change the poison, I want to just basically sprint ahead and infect all the monsters, because that would end up actually working pretty well. But like I said, the survivability thing does become an issue. You need something to kind of aid you besides the hex, because sometimes, like I said, if your hex falls out and you take the 40% increased damage, that can be instantly life-threatening and kill you. So I got to work on getting enough cooldown reduction so that I can keep that hex up all the time, and perfecting my gems up a little bit higher and getting better rolls on my gear so I can get that damage up there, just so we can get that done and make sure we're doing the damage that we need to do. Hopefully I can also get a higher level damaging wormwood, or I might end up using my furnace that's ancient and then just simply break down a wormwood and use a legendary power like that, and just use it with the furnace. But then again, I don't think you need to do that. If you really wanted to, you actually could probably drop Soul Harvest, right? Put the Spider Queen there and just use Locust Swarm and Haunt with Pestilence, right? That would probably work out just as fine if you don't want to run the Wormwood with the Locust Swarm. I don't know what you run instead, though, for the weapon. I guess you could run a Furnace, drop the Soul Harvest, run the Locust Swarm with the extra skill open. I don't know what, I really can't think of another weapon. Maybe a Sunkeeper for the extra elite damage, and you'd be up to, what, 75% increased elite damage? I could definitely see that. And but like I said, I got a little bit more testing with the set to do, because it really intrigued me, especially since they added the Locust Swarm onto the list of creature skills that get increased by up to 800% damage. And we're getting towards the end here. And as you can see, the dungeon was pretty smooth with a good amount of time to spare, which means it can go higher, but we just need to maximize everything and do a lot better. And I forget what boss we get, but I think it's going to be spawning in this next room pretty soon. No bosses really give me a problem with this build, because all they got to do is get tagged by Locust Swarm and Haunt, and that's it. You just kind of sit there and you cast from the distance and you let them take their damage, and the elite damage makes so they take really high damaging ticks. I would say for the boss time, it does take a little bit of time to get them down, though. I don't know how you can really remedy that. Thinking about it right now, I don't know. It'd be nice if you could have Jerome. The Jerome would definitely help out with the bosses and the fetishes, but can't do that because you're running Quetzalcoatl. But I imagine if you actually were Jerome with the fetishes, I think that would pull out more damage for the actual boss fights and stuff, as opposed to using just only dots. So that's something I might have to test. Oh, I got a channeling pylon, but I don't think it really helps this much here. And we got a Tetris, whatever her name is. And this is a pretty straightforward fight. Every time the convention of elements comes up with poison, as you can see, her health drops dramatically, then it kind of slows down a little bit. And then basically all you're trying to do is just make sure all your fetishes are up, so when that convention of elements comes up for poison, like it's about to right now, because it goes physical to poison, then you notice her HP drops pretty significantly, and it doesn't take too long to kill. Looks about like a minute to kill. So as long as you have that going for you, you have a minute to kill the boss, I think this would be okay, even up to like 58, maybe even 60 in terms of killing the boss. Because, you just wait for the convention elements poison to kick in, and then all the damage gets put on the boss, as you see how fastly she's dropping. It's not as fast as, let's say, the Helltooth Gargantuan, but, I mean, it has potential. So, overall, I really enjoyed the set. I think they did a pretty good idea adding the Locust Swarm to the list. Overall, In all honesty, though, Helltooth and Arachyr set is just, they're kind of shit compared to Carnival. But, I mean, Carnival is just a well put together build. So they're going to have to look into something if they actually want to make both these builds viable and competitive. So that's basically the end of the video. It worked out pretty well. Let me go ahead and pop back up the Diablo. Yeah, like I said, these skills are Haunt, Poison Spirit, Core Spider, Spider Queen, Jaunt, Languish on the Soul Harvest. You know, increase your by 30%, reduce movement speed, harvest immunities by 80% for 5 seconds, trigger the Band the Trapped, and gives us more armor and more intelligence. Piranha's a Paranado Hex, Pierce the Veil, Gruesome Feast, Spirit Vessel, Confidence, Ritual. And then the cool thing about the Spider Queen, it tells, both these do AoE, so that's why I use it. So if I get higher, like to at least about 58, I'll repost the video. If I get to 55, I'm not going to post that video because we all know I can probably do 55. But if I get to 58 up to 60, I definitely will repost an Arachyr set. And like I said, that's pretty much about the coverage, all the coverage on the 2 new builds, or the 2 new updates for the Helltooth and the Arachyr set. The next thing I'm going to start working on is maybe doing a Carnival video to do it for 2.3, so people can get ready for that, and then also a Jade 2.3 video. And I might redo my Tiki speed farm build for bounties and my Jade speed run farms for T10. Both, well, that for T10 and the other one's T7 bounties. So look forward to those videos. As always, I appreciate you guys watching these videos, and I'll make sure you guys like, subscribe, favorite, check me out on Twitch, all that good stuff, Patreon, all that crazy stuff, you know, blah, 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 shameless promotions. Hope you guys have a good day, and until next time, I'll see you. I'm Debo, and I'm out.